Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. If you're new to the channel, my name is Javi and I am a wedding photographer and videographer, and really I just talk about gear, tech, lenses, just about anything within that realm, but also want to go ahead and be able to give some business advice on later on videos, and this one might pertain to that too as well. So if you guys know and you read the caption, I sold my Sony A7III and I've switched completely over to Fuji. Can't believe I did it. Like, I really can't believe I did it. But let me go ahead and just start the video and kind of tell you guys why I decided to sell my Sonys and switch all the way to Fuji and sell all my lenses and just sell everything. Like, I sold everything. I'm still pretty shocked. But let's go ahead and dive into it. So I began my creative journey about 3 years ago. When I first started, I was looking into just point and shoot cameras because I started photography because I did a class in college and I just needed a point and shoot camera to take at least decent quality photos. So when I first started, I actually picked up an Nikon point and shoot. I don't remember the model name whatsoever, but I shot a couple. I didn't like it really, so I went ahead and returned it, and I got a mirrorless A5000 camera first. And then at that point I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I just kind of bought it. My wife or girlfriend at the time, she was really mad because, you know, college, used my credit to buy this camera. I'm not a professional, I'm not trying to make money. I spent $500, and $500 was a lot to me back then, and still is today, just depending on the circumstances. But so I went ahead, I picked up the camera, and I enjoyed the experience at the kit lens. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I kind of read some other reviews about the A5100, so I returned back my A5000, got the money, and purchased the A5100. That camera I kept. With that camera, I went ahead and kind of just started my photography basis. Had a great autofocus, at least for that time, and I thought that camera was like the perfect camera. And I'm like, now knowing in this industry, there's no perfect camera whatsoever. But at that point, I was very naive, and so I picked it up, had the kit lens, I was doing photo shoots with other people, and I was having a blast, having fun. And then kind of told my wife, it's like, you know what, like, I really enjoy this as a hobby, so I'm just gonna keep the camera. So I kept it, and I never had the plan or nor intentions to become a professional wedding photographer or videographer whatsoever. Like, that was not in the plans. But God kind of had a twist of things, and the desire of becoming one kind of grew more and more. And probably one of the reasons why I did not want to become a professional wedding photographer or videographer is because I went to school for business, and so for me, my conceptualizing of, you know, going to suit and tie for work and whatnot is what felt more rewarding rather than shooting, you know, for people's weddings. Like, come on, it kind of felt degrading for me in the beginning. I wasn't really accepted to the title. So nonetheless, the desire kept growing. I was working a corporate job. I was starting to hate it. I love wild photography. You kind of escape, kind of go out, get to do your own thing, capture other people's wedding, and then, you know, you're back home for the rest of the week and you do whatever you want during that time. And so more and more grew, desires grew, and I had a business partner, and so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They dropped out, so it was just on me. So I decided at that point, like, you know what, I'm going ahead, I have a corporate job, let me buy the A6000 because I wanted a viewfinder. So the A5100, I sold that, got rid of it, so I can get the A6000. I got it back, and I'm like, whoa, like, I really enjoy the camera. It felt very weird though, flimsy now comparing it to like really high-end cameras, but I had the A6000 and I used it in the beginning with my shoots. I like the autofocus, shutter speed or frame rates, just shooting higher frame rates for anything action sports. And I also purchased the zoom lens that Sony offers, which completely forgot, I might add it to the video right here or something. But I went ahead and purchased it. At that point in time, I'm like, okay, I'm going all in into this, and not really do the wedding scenes or none of that, but do just a couple of shoots and stuff like family, sports shoots or events, but not weddings yet. So that kind of went on, and then some circumstances in my life kind of happened, and at that point, I went ahead and I purchased the A6500. Came out, bought it cash. I had my A6000 already paid for, so I owed nobody nothing. At that point, I'm also only have gone through 1, 2, 3, now my 4th Sony camera with the A6500. And then I really purchased that camera because it had really impressive video features, and I'm like, well, if I get into video later, at least I have a solid camera. I can do, you know, good stuff on that. And then at that point, my dream camera was the Sony A7III. I wanted the 42.4 megapixels or whatever it is, and I wanted a camera that just looks sharp, looks so good, and I just wanted it so freaking bad. Like Manny Ortiz was using it, other people's reviews, and I was like, man, like that is a great camera. Like I need to get that. So being naive again, I waited, I got a job, went to a corporate setting, suit and tie, was doing financial advising and stuff of that nature. And I was licensed, and I have a background in insurance that most people don't even know about. But so I went through all the motions, went through all that, and then this new job was more commission based. So I kind of learned like, hey, it's running your own business. And then hurricane happened, and when the Hurricane Irma hit here in Florida, it wiped out all my appointments, all my things, and I was very discouraged. And at that point, I'm like, man, like I really want to do photography full time, but I don't even know where to start, even how to do it. So during that time, I just seen the other advisors that are working there, and they're just following up with people, maintaining a relationship, networking, not really asking about business, but talking about how they're doing and you know, for their families and their homes. You know, Hurricane Irma just hit, and power is out, water's out, and just checking up on people and not worrying, you know, about to reschedule. So that was a really big eye opener, because even during that midst of trouble and time, you know, it's just showing the human element of, you know, reaching out to people and actually really caring. And that caring kind of led one thing to the other, and before you know it, I started offering weddings, and I booked my first couple weddings. Before you know it, I booked 4 in 1 month. And the following month, I booked another 4. And it kind of started going and going and going till I am here today. But throughout that journey, when I first started, they gave me a bonus, and I purchased a Sony A7III. Dream camera, got it, sealed, bam. But little did I know that that thing sucks up so much memory, like insane. Each file was 100 megabytes. And compared to A6500, where we're like 25 megabytes per file. So I went ahead and decided, you know what, like I kept it going with the A7R II. I loved it for photography. I love having the actual real estate and megapixels I can crop, and it can just save me. So the Sony Adventure, and at that point, was really good. I have some good lenses, the 85.18 from Sony, full frame. I had my first full frame camera, good and low light. And the camera was a workhorse. It was great at the time when I bought it. And definitely helped me in my business and be able to grow. But then kind of came a turning point that I started to enjoy doing video more rather than photography. Like I still love photos and still love photography, but video for me is just like a whole nother element, because there's other elements involved with it. You got your music, you got the visuals, you got, you know, frame rates and what you're going to use, how you're going to plan it out, you got your coloring. It just felt more challenging, and I like that challenge. So I went ahead, I decided, you know, I'm going to take it. At that point, the Sony A7III came out. Now, keep in mind, during this point in time, I did buy other lenses and things. So I'm currently on to what my A5000, A5100, A6000, A6500, A7R II, my 5th Sony camera. Now this is going to be my 6th Sony camera. With the A7000, I purchased it because I wanted 120 frame rates at 1080, and it just, like, I was kind of mind blown at that point in time. The autofocus was great. For photos, it was amazing. Low light performance was also really great. But then slowly I'm like, oh, it's good. I'm like, with my business, the way it's heading, I'm probably going to need another one. Purchase another one. 7 Sony cameras already. 7 Sony cameras. So I've been loyal to Sony the whole time. And there came a point in time where I'm like, well, like for my business, I want this type of quality. By the way, I did not keep all these cameras. I sold a lot of them. So don't think I'm rich that I just keep these cameras. The A6000 I actually gave away to my church so that they could use it and be able to take photos and capture what they're doing. And then the other ones I sold so that I can buy newer models. So that's what I did. Now, for this Sony A7III, this is like, I bought 2 of them. At that point, I'm like, well, they're really great. I still like it, and I still have my Sony A7R II, so I had 3 cameras in total. And then at that point, I just used one of my Sonys just for main video, and the A7R II. Actually, I used the 7R II for video because there was a hack that you can record past 30 minutes, and it'll just keep on recording until the battery dies or overheats. And so I just kept that camera just to document the whole ceremony for my weddings. And then the other 2 were more like B cam. I had an intern at the time. He didn't have a good quality camera, so I'm like, you know what, let's use this camera so that you can use it and maintain the same shots and just the same profile overall in color, so that just makes it easier in post. I did that for a while, and then my business kept outgrowing, kept going to a point where I'm like, well, I want 4K 60, I want the 10-bit coloring, but this is my budget. Like, what is out there that I can actually afford and be able to get? So I actually sold my Sony A7III to my intern. He purchased it, he still has it, he loves it. I got that camera, I sold it, so I used that money that I had, and I had enough to buy, a new camera. So I was looking in the market for different cameras, mainly for video, but I knew that I still needed a hybrid. So I looked at the Blackmagic Pocket 4K cinema camera, but I still couldn't get it because it doesn't really take stills and it's not really meant for photography. It's more of a documentary style, and then you just gotta rig it out and do so many things to it. I had a certain budget at that time, and I'm like, I don't want to go past it, and I just didn't want to. Now the next camera came out with this GH5 and GH5S. At that point, I actually rented one and I used one, and it was a great experience using it, but the only problem is that I wanted autofocus. Like, I want something that has autofocus that I can control, and then also being a Micro Four Thirds camera, it was kind of annoying just to add speed boosters or attachments or just other things so that the crop factor doesn't really affect it so much. So I ruled that one out, really mainly because of the autofocus, because I want that feature, because it's like and I know they've done new updates to it too now, but it's too late now. But at the time, autofocus was crap, but everything else kind of checked it off. But the biggest thing I needed to check off was autofocus, and with that, if it would have, I would have probably picked it up, despite of the Micro Four Thirds lens. Now, the following thing that came about was, I remember that the Fuji X-T3 had came out, and I heard about it, but I really didn't dive into it. Like, I've heard of the Fujis before, kind of well known. At that time I went ahead and decided to pick up the Fuji. At that time I went ahead and decided to take a look into Fuji. I've heard about it a couple while ago. I've heard the Fuji brand, they're really good in colors. They've had positive reviews. And so I remember that camera shot 4K 60. But I didn't know that it also shot F-Log, H-Log, that its autofocus was really great, and that also it shot in 10-bit, and then you had so many options in frame rates. At that point, I didn't know that, and then I started doing my research a little bit more. I'm like, wow, like, this camera really has great features, and the pricing point for this camera is really good too as well. So it's like, I can afford it, I can get a couple of them if I decide to later on, and be well off, or anything happens that I need to replace the camera, I know I'm good because the price point is really good too as well. So that leads me to now. I sold my A7R II, I have one Fuji, and then two Sony A7IIIs. Well, my Fuji is, I was enjoying it, loving it for video, making great content, and I use it as a personal camera, taking it everywhere with me. But the problem was that, like, this camera was really good. I loved it. Now my Sony's, I was falling out of love with it because it didn't match up to video specs like the X-T3 did. And then the stills were still decent because I didn't have a really good portrait lens for this camera, because again, I only really had the kit lens and a wide 12mm lens f2 and a 23 f2. So they're not really meant for portraits. So I knew that it didn't look good for photos or portraits, but I knew later on it would improve if I just got the better glass and better lenses for it. So at this point in time, I went ahead, I'm like, well, I was kind of debating whether or not if I wanted to sell a Sony to get another Fuji, because I've just been enjoying the experience of using the Fuji rather than the Sonys now. And the coloring was a lot easier, the video features were great, it was a hybrid, autofocus was awesome, which I'm using it right now, so hopefully it's working good when I get to look at the video back again. But at that point I'm like, you know what, I kind of want one, but I still didn't pull the trigger because I still wanted full frame, and for photography I know that's something that it's better for, especially for video. I know it's important, but I can overcompensate with lights and other stuff at night, so I can live with that with an APS-C size sensor. So I went ahead. With all this being said, now I was doing a collab with a friend, and all of a sudden my HDMI port thing went all the way in, and I was so mad and so upset. Actually, just let me show you what happened. This is like the most sensitive part of the Fuji camera and just about any other camera, which I don't know why they make it so delicate. But the mini HDMI port, which is right here, right there, this thing here went all the way in. So at that point, I now shoot in a rig style system. So now that I use a monitor and I have my LUTs and I have my things so that I can see what I'm previewing and shooting, I'm like, well, I still need a Fuji and I need it to replace it now. And so at that point, I talked to my wife. I was kind of, stressing. I don't want to buy another camera. I already have all these. Like, it just, it doesn't make sense. I was like, well, do you really need 2 Sonys? And she's like, I'm like, well, I think I do, but I'm not sure. I really didn't. And I decided to sell one of my Sonys. So I sold it. They're sold. One of them is sold, and I buy another Fuji, which is the one actually recording this, on my rig. So I purchased it, and I didn't regret selling the Sony. Now I had this one right here to do all my photo stuff when I want to, and then I also have, so I have my Sony one, and I also have this camera so that I can be able to do all of like photography needs that I need to. My video recording, a dedicated one is just on the rig all the time if need be, but at least I have another camera that I can enjoy using it. So I used it for my first wedding. I took it, I made it as the main camera. I paired it with a 16mm that to 55mm f2.8 zoom lens, and I enjoyed the experience. I looked at the photos, looked at back, it looked sharp, autofocus was good. Battery life, it wasn't that bad actually. It lasted for about 8, and it was an 8-hour wedding, so I only had to change it twice, so that's fine. And I was thrilled with the experience. Now I use my Sony A7III because I still had another one. I used it, and once I started editing the photos, it was just so much easier editing the Fujis compared to the Sonys, and just to get the color desired. But everything else, actually using the camera, I feel like the Fuji was a lot better. The experience was great, so I really felt that I've kind of lost hope with Sony, and I've also lost it with the video side of things, because we've been waiting for the Sony A7III or 4 or whatever it's going to be called to come out for so long, and it still hasn't. And at this point in my life and in my business stage, I honestly don't really need full frame, nor do I need this, because I hire out a lot of my contractors that work with us to make up the team. And so at that point, they have their own gear, their own things, and I really just don't need that much and need all. I just need to have a camera that can shoot 4K 60, 10-bit, and I can do the rest myself. Like, that's perfect for me and for what I need. So I went ahead and decided, okay, I'm selling it, and I just sold it. Like right now I have no Sonys. I sold all my lenses. They're completely sold. And I really never thought it would get to that point, because Sony was very innovative and doing a lot of great things out in the market. But they lost this follower here, or this side, because they just kind of took too long to develop new things. And Fuji is still developing new things at a good price point, but also still updating with software. And I feel like it's so easier when you just have something that one. There's no perfect camera. First, let me say this: there's no perfect camera. Everything's based on your need and time, financially. Where's your business stage at currently? What are some needs and wants? Can you replace those needs with someone else, or do you have to replace those needs by you actually getting this product? Are you going to be using it all the time? I mean, if you have a camera just on the shelf all the time, it's you're losing money. So at that point, I'm like, well, my other third camera was kind of losing money. So I really don't need it, so I sold it. And I have a whole bunch of accessories now. They're coming in any moment today, so you might hear a knock. But I sold that. I don't really need it. And here I am now today. So now this new journey with Fuji, I have 2 X-T3s. I know the X-T4 or somewhat is rumored to come out, and to have IBIS or bigger battery life and other things, but your 6K 60 or whatever it may be. And I'm making this video just to kind of let you guys know, even throughout this whole time of new innovations by Fuji that's coming out, I still love the Fuji X-T3. It's still a great camera. It still hasn't outperformed its life or outlived its life per se. And so if you guys are on the verge of whether or not to decide if you want to purchase a Fuji X-T3 right now, I say you do so before the X-T4, or if the X-T4 comes out. Either way, still purchase it. It's a great camera. If you're a video shooter, and if you shoot in a rig style, you don't really use gimbals or anything, but use monopods, tripods, and some handheld movements, like, you can get some amazing results with this camera. And so in-body stabilization is important, but lenses may have it, and so you may not even need it, to be honest. Bigger battery life solutions, you can attach an external battery grip, which I have now in the cage, and just buy a couple extra battery, rather than spend thousands of dollars to buy a new camera with a bigger battery. But you're still gonna have to buy more batteries to replace it, and I bet you those new batteries are gonna be like $100 or $120 per battery. So just save yourself the trouble. Like, there's so many accessories out for the X-T3 already that if you're a filmmaker, you're gonna be very thrilled with. Delta has new cages and battery things and follow focus that you would love and enjoy. Small rig does too as well. And there's just so many options out there for the X-T3 already. And again, Fuji is still updating us with new firmware updates. And that's what makes it thrilling, because they haven't forgotten about the Fuji X-T3. They're still producing things because it's their flagship camera now. So just know that. But yes, I'm no longer a Sony user, I'm a Fuji user. I'm happy to be, all in about 2 new lenses that I'm waiting on. The 56mm f1.2 and the 35mm f1.4. And I'm going to really use those for weddings when I do wedding photography, which sometimes I mainly really don't. Most of our contractor shooters. But when I do get to use them, I'm excited to take it out of the field, kind of share some of the results with you guys. And then also I got new content, making some reviews about those lenses, the lenses I already have. Just trying to make the channel really geared towards you guys. So again, I thank you guys for just following me in this journey. Started a YouTube channel with the Sonys, but now with the Fuji. So pretty exciting just to be in this new space, new realm. And also, thank you for every subscriber out there. And if you watched the full video, you kind of got to know my little side of how I got into photography and videography. So kind of learned a little bit more about me. But tell me, you guys, your thoughts on about me switching over from Sony to Fuji. Having owned over 7 Sony cameras, now I'm completely all Fuji. And kind of excited just to see the results with this new lenses coming out, and the whole debate whether full frame and crop sensor, which is better, and all these other things. And obviously I can make a long video about that too as well. But let me know what you guys think about that. If you liked the video and enjoyed it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and click the notification bell to stay updated with new videos. I'm going to try to release 3 new videos a month, and just a lot of little short films as well during the month. So again, appreciate you guys. Take care. See you on the next one.